All right, there we go. A little bit of audio issue, no big deal. How is everybody doing this wonderful Saturday morning? So, it is the weekend, and that means it's time for another AMA. And I want to talk a little bit about something today, and we're going to talk a little bit about personal burnout. So, that's something that I'm going through right now, and I'm struggling to figure out how to handle it, to be honest with you. Currently, the way that I'm handling my personal burnout, let me sort of define what personal burnout is in my case, right? So, you have your professional burnout, right? Where you're burnt out at your work, you're working too much, or like shit's just hitting the fan and you're burnt out on that. And then you have your personal burnout. And what I mean by that is that in your personal life, you're burnt out. And so that creeps into all aspects of life. So there's some things going on in my life that have made me not as effective as I want to be, not as logical as I want to be. I'm more upset. I'm easier to be upset. Upsettable, is that a word? Someone in chat will know the word I'm looking for. I am angry quite often, quite a bit. I'm not my usual self, and that is stemming from my personal life, and that means that because of that, I'm not handling my professional duties as well, and that's a problem. And the honest answer is I don't currently have a solution. How I've handled these issues in the past, and it hasn't happened quite a bit. And these are not minor things, but handling them. There aren't things that can be solved. They're things that will play out, and you'll deal with it as time comes. But how do I get back? How do I get back to where I want to be? And so this is something we all struggle with. For the most part, how I handle it is I let April do everything, and then I do what I need to do. And not everyone has that luxury, right? Not everyone's got a ride or die in their life, right? I say, hey, take control of the wheel because I'm going to go on a walk, sort of thing. But you don't always have that person take control. So how do we handle it? Well, just like anything else, you admit that you're not your usual self, right? You admit there's a problem. And you see how you can solve that problem. You see how you can still accomplish your goals, because the hardest part amongst all this, right? We all have our ups and downs. We all have our hard parts and our easy parts. But the hardest problem amongst all that is the long-term goal, right? What's the long-term goal? Well, for me, it's financial independence. It's progressing my career in software, and these short-term personal sort of burnout is affecting those goals. So how do we get back on track? I'm not bringing this up to really even propose an answer. I'm bringing this up so that, sorry, that's April. So that you guys can understand it's not just you, it's me, it's everybody, right? We all have our moments in time where we're weakest, and it happens to be my turn. So and this is also the reason why I don't get upset when other people are upset and they're going through rough times, right? My uncle asked me this, so a little personal story. My father lives on a boat, and so we were having a late dinner over there when I visited for the holidays, and my aunt and uncle were there, and they got into some argument because someone wouldn't let them in through the gate, and they start cussing each other out, all that sort of stuff. So, my uncle, the man they were talking with was very difficult, very rude, and anyhow, they got riled up because of it. And my uncle goes, I bet that's not how you would handle it, Dylan. And I was like, no, I oftentimes will do my best to diffuse things with humor and wit. And if that's not possible, not always, right? Some people are just going to be angry and yell and scream, right? But most of the time, the way that I just accept that this is a unwinnable argument, and that they're coming from they're sad in their life, right? If someone's being an asshole to you, and you don't deserve it, you truly don't deserve it, right? Chances are they're just angry about something in their life, and you've already won, right? All you gotta do is be an adult about the matter and move on. That's usually how I handle it. And so I say this for your personal life and your professional life, because there'll be times where you have people that you work with who are going to be difficult for periods and times. They may have issues with their husband and wife at home. Their kids may be, fucking up. They might just be going through a rough patch. Their parents may be sick. They got a baby mama on the side and things are getting stressful. I don't know. Life happens in a million different directions. And so as a person, it is important for you to be understanding and say, you know what, I'm going to hold in there as long as I can for this teammate, for this family member, and just be understanding, because you never know when it's going to be your turn. Right? You never know when you're going to be the one who is not doing too well, and so you'd hope that you would have that courtesy as well. So, I encourage you to take that stance. And the honest answer to why I take that stance is I find it's healthier for me. But also, people who take that anger stance, they don't get anywhere. The greatest thing you can get for someone who has wronged you is success. I don't remember who said that, but it really has always resonated with me. There's been a few people who have wronged me in my life for no reason. And there have been people who have wronged me before I was a mature adult, and I did things I shouldn't have done. And those are justified. I understand that. But the people who have wronged you for no reason other than maybe it makes them feel better because they're unhappy in their life, the greatest revenge you can get, if you want to think about that, is success. So just take that approach in life and whatnot. So, yeah. Anyhow, so that was a very dramatic intro to a software Ask a Dev. This was I'm doing all right, guys. I got to change something up a little bit. God bless April, though. She takes care of me. So, welcome to the Weekend AMA. We do this every week if you guys haven't already. And if you could please, I've told I need to get better. Can you please like the video if you're here hanging out, having a good time, so we get more people in here and they can know. And of course, you haven't subscribed already. I mean, what are you doing with your life? Making bad decisions. Let's make a good decision and hit that subscribe button. With that being said, guys, let's go ahead and thank our boy Armin Luca, who's in the final stage for his Cisco interview with front end. Good luck, man. But yeah, so for the most part, life is good, man. I'm actually thinking about filming the house tour video for you guys this weekend. Now that we have furniture in here, it's pretty much fully furnished, but there's a few other things I want to get. We got 2 empty rooms and a loft, but life is good, man. I got no complaints. What was April 1? We're getting a ceiling fan for the patio. We just put in a very beautiful ceiling fan and light in the living room, and a chandelier, and three hanging lights for the kitchen. Um, what do you say to your boss if he sets an unrealistic deadline? Um, well, first thing you have to understand is oftentimes it's not your boss setting it. Oftentimes it's not your boss's boss setting it. It's people above you who don't care and oftentimes don't even see you as people. They haven't met you. They don't know you. And the people around you who are reporting to them are going to try and soften the blow as much as possible and use the words like we might get it done. It might, all those sort of soft ass words, those it's unlikely, it might, those types of words, and those are the words. And so what they're basically saying is we're gonna get done. But so as a professional, and I'm usually better at this, but this is something I'm dealing with in my workplace. I can't go into details, but I have this situation happen on occasion. I would say about once every 3-4 months, more often than it should, you get an unrealistic deadline. And sometimes you can work it out, right? Sometimes you can say, look, sometimes you can say this is, all right, so I'm telling you there's 6 weeks of work. You're saying that you need it in 2. All right. This is what I can give you in 2. And then we can do an iterative approach, which most companies have to, right? I can get you this in 2 weeks. This is the bare bones that we can deliver in 2 weeks and still have some sort of resemblance of the app that you want. Sometimes that works. Sometimes, you go back and forth a couple times. And sometimes it doesn't. And you do your best and you miss it. And depending on how that project was carried, and depending how that organization has carried itself, and depending how many times they've done that, it may be time for you to move on. That's the honest answer. Is as a professional, I want to work with other professionals. That's the truth, right? And no one knows coding and what's possible than the people who actually write code, the software engineers. All right. And so at the end of the day, you're going to do what you can. You might have to work some overtime, and that's okay sometimes, right? I talk about it being game day. So you got to work overtime for 2 weeks. Fine. You got to work overtime for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. It's time to look for a new job. And I mean, that's the reality of the situation. I wish I could tell you another scenario. And sometimes you have to have that conversation, right? Where you sit down with them and you say, this can't be done. This is what I can deliver. If that's not acceptable, I'm sorry. But I haven't mastered the art of time travel quite yet. And we're not making too much progress with it. So I don't know how to condense 6 weeks of work into 2. I just don't. And because of that, what we will deliver will be of less quality, will be of more bugs, and will cost the company more hours of money because of that. So that's the truth of the matter, and it's a rough one, and it's something that a lot of software engineers have to deal with. And depending about how big of a professional you are, the more it will bother you. So I consider myself a professional. I've worked very hard. I'm continuing to work hard. And when you work with unprofessional people and you work with a unprofessional business, it bothers you more than I think if you didn't consider yourself professional. That's just the way it is. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't be flexible. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't work hard. But it is sometimes soul crushing. So All right, let's see what we got here. Dylan, say if someone started their job today, how long could they be working until they could retire? Let's say 25-year-old. Depends how you spend your money. It depends what you're doing smart. I would say that assuming no huge financial burdens, which is a huge statement, but I would say that you guys want to know my finances and how I plan to retire? So every month I have about $5,000 extra left over between YouTube, somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000. It depends. Some months of YouTube are better than others. So I have about $5,000 left over after I pay utilities, after I pay the mortgage, car insurance, food, whatever. I got about $5,000 in my pocket every month. So it's about $60,000 a year currently. So, do you know what so let's just say that I don't make another dollar and everything stays the same. So for the next 10 years, that'll be $600,000 that I can do whatever I want with. Cool. All right. If you invested $600,000 steadily for 10 years, you could retire in 10 years. That's probably a fairly accurate statement. So what I'm doing personally is I'm throwing about $4,500 a month towards my mortgage. At that rate, at specifically $5,000 over my mortgage every month, everything I have left, not including my nest egg, I'm putting towards the principal of my property, because I don't like having debt. So when that's to ramp up for a while, but anyhow, so I am doing that. And that's my nest egg of when you really have, this will be I'm trying to get a property probably once every 3 years, I think is probably the most realistic aspect. And so the next thing I'm going to buy is either duplex or apartments and go from there. So if you're smart with your money and you invest it and you have income and you have multiple revenue streams. So one of the greatest things that YouTube has given me is multiple revenue streams. So with that being said, you can do quite a bit. And so it's all relative. It's also about keeping your debt down, being smart with your money, right? So a lot of people who make the type of money I have $100,000 in debt. It's one of those situations where they are bad with money, and so they aren't smart. They have a $700 a month car payment. You know how much my car costs? How much money I pay for it every month? $0. My car's paid off cash. It's $13,000 brand new. So what I would say is that if you are serious about retiring early, what you need to do is job hop typically to get large pay raises, and you need to figure out multiple revenue streams. And the great thing is about being a software engineer, you have the ability to make those multiple revenue streams. For me, it's been YouTube, and by the end of 2019, I want to launch a web application that will generate more revenue for me. So that would be, I don't know if I answered that clearly and concisely enough, but I do at some point want to start putting money into the stock market again. I cashed everything out when I bought the property and started putting into a nest egg and whatnot. But because I didn't know how much money I was going to need, but I got to ramp up a little bit to that 20%. But yeah, so I'd say just be smart with your money. Try to invest about 50% of your income. And if you can do that, if you can invest 50% of your income intelligently, should be all right. And retire early. Thanks, Rishesh. Can you talk about your thoughts about 6-month contract positions for holding out for a full-time position? It really depends, right? So a lot of those 6-month positions are sort of contract to hire. So if you do a good job, they're going to hire you anyhow full-time. So you just have to weigh where you're at, right? experience is king at the end of the day. So if it's your first role, just take it and continue getting better. Because if I do it all over, what would I say to myself? I tell myself to drop out of college about 6 years earlier. Yeah, that would be the honest answer. You have really bad epilepsy that keeps you from having a traditional job. Honestly, man, I can't answer that question. I don't know how that affects your personal situation. How's my day going? Pretty good, man. I ran some errands with April this morning, so that was good. I doing the live stream now. After this, I'm going to be filming some videos for the week, and I'm gonna go hit the gym. I haven't been doing that for the last 2 weeks, which is probably not doing very well for my stress levels. So I'm gonna go hit the gym that's in the garage here and go from there. But are you making a good choice to learn C# over PHP? Yes. Am I still trying to pick up a new language? Honestly, I just haven't had the time, man. I about once a year, I go and I update my resume and my LinkedIn and stuff like that. Keep it current, keep it fresh. You guys want to see it? Maybe I'll show you the. It's a work in progress. I can show you guys my resume. I'm not done with it yet, though. So, you know what? Let me just take my phone number off here because some of you are crazy fucks. Damned. I appreciate the $10, Danny. Says, I got you, bro. A tiny start towards your nest egg. I appreciate that. I just joined a boot camp in Miami. Since you're in Florida, I hope we can meet in person one day. Yeah, man. Maybe I'd meet up or something. All right. Let me see here. You guys want to see the old resume? Like, again, I'm only about 75% done with it. So cut me some slack here. All right. So for any of you guys who aren't familiar, Novo Resume is the resume template site that I've been using for years, and they have a whole bunch of cool themes and stuff like that. But you get to essentially start custom building it out piece by piece. So like you can do your layout, all this sort of stuff. Anyhow, so I'll talk about a little bit about mine. I gotta put a new picture in here, but I kind of like this one because it adds personality, right? So this may not be the most professional photo in the world, but like if you can't handle like a little bit of humor, then I probably don't want to work with you anyhow, to be honest. So that's kind of what this picture is about, as well as the 2006 Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Anyhow, so you'll see I have all my personal information here. I think this is all important. You need it. Your LinkedIn, your GitHub, any website, your phone number, email. And the very first thing I have is a technical skills section. I want that to be there. I want that to be perfect for any recruiter, any person looking at the resume. I think it's ideal. You see, I have it broken up nice and cleanly between front end, back end, principles, methodologies, testing, and other. I have to, when I say 70% done, this is where I need to clean it up the most part right here. I need to go to here and I need to put a little bit more time into wording these. But you see, I have I have a description. I have job 1, job 2, and then I have my personal projects, right? Broken out, stats, things that I'm proud of, things that I think will make me stand out. Um, I talk about my minutes watch, videos, etc. Certificates, things that I'm working towards, things that I have, right? Some people might be worried about putting things that they have yet to complete on their resume. I am not. I think it's good to show that you're continuing to grow and continuing to mature, all those sorts of things. You'll notice that I then have volunteer experience. I need to add one more volunteer experience here because it's kind of plain, right? And I need to expand upon this. So that's something that I'll be adding shortly. And then you'll see that I have various partnerships and contract work and references. So so normally I would say keep it to one page. The issue that I was having on my resume um, was that honestly, I had so much good stuff to put onto it that I was having recruiters ask me to. I was having recruiters tell me that I should go to a CSV instead of a resume with 2 pages. I won't go bigger than 2 pages, and because they want more details and as long as it's organized. So, but yeah, that's why I went to 2 pages because I thought it was justified. In all honesty, I thought I could provide a lot more value to me. Although I think 9 out of 10 times most people should have 2 pages. But yeah, how long did it take me to get used to SAS? About a weekend. I love SAS. I don't use Solo Learn too much anymore. I did like 6 or 7 of their courses a while back. Would it be a good idea to learn other frameworks and languages? Yeah, anything your work uses is a great idea. Are zero upfront boot camps any better? No, they're probably about the same. Yeah, develop meetups are great. Do I consider myself intermediate? I consider myself a intermediate to senior. Wouldn't it be a turnoff for a web dev not to have his own site for a resume instead of using a template? You can have both, but you typically have to hand a resume to people, and they want something that they can print out. Finished building my first mini project, Blackjack, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Any ideas when I could build my next project, the backend for that project, so that you can keep track of scores? That'd be an excellent thing. I work 10-hour days, 4 to 6 times per week. How is it possible to do 3 to 4 hours of web development per day, like you mentioned before? I don't know your personal situation inside and out, but you figure it out. Get rid of the gym, get rid of one day of work 8-hour days. I don't know what to tell you, man. But so here's the thing: um, if you want to progress in software and put time, effort, and energy in that, sometimes you give other things up. Just bought the Do You Even Code Bro hoodie. You've been a lot of help to me and inspiration. You're welcome, Danny. I appreciate that, man. And not only that, but the $10, killing it today, son. uh, yeah. But yeah, so that's my resume. I gotta update the LinkedIn. Can continue to finish the updates to the resume, all that sort of stuff. I'm working on it though. Where did I get this shirt? I want to say GameStop. I don't even buy games at GameStop. I just occasionally go in there. I occasionally go in there and get a shirt. Do web developers' first job usually start between 40 and 60K? It all sort of depends, right? What country you're in, what state you're in, what city you're in. Oftentimes, right? My first job started me at 62 and got bumped to 67. So, am I gonna make a goals for 2019 video? That'd be a good idea. Have I been playing any games? Not so much. I was playing Valkyrie Chronicles 4. There's really nothing coming out other than Kingdom Hearts that I'm kind of excited about. Houston, Texas? No, I wouldn't go to Texas. The next place I'll go is somewhere cold and cheap. What am I doing for Christmas? Just hanging out. I'll probably be looking for some good. I think I need to go on a vacation. I think April and I might be doing a cruise to Europe, like a 10-day cruise, something like that. So I gotta go look at that. I prefer Vue than Angular than React. How do you deal with procrastinating, not coding, studying code as much as you should? I don't have that problem anymore. I will say a lot of times it's just a maturity thing. A lot of times people haven't hit their rock bottom yet. Haven't really, figured out what that means. I guess what it means to succeed, and haven't figured out what it means to be a failure and feel like a failure. So, how many decent portfolio projects for a decent resume for your first job? It all depends. One can be enough if it's impressive enough. Why do I prefer Vue to React? I think Vue is much more intuitive. I just don't like React. I've built several projects in it, and I just have never liked it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what other. Trying to think what other games are coming out. I was really hoping they were going to come out with the Nintendo 64 Classic. When am I going to hang out with Matt? It's going to be a while, man. He's out there doing his thing. I'm out here doing my thing. Probably I'll visit him in the Philippines next. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's true. I don't have a Nintendo Switch. I could go and get one. Go play Breath of the Wild, and there's a few other good games. Super Smash Brothers. I don't really have anyone to play it with, unless one of my coworkers is about that life. Have you ever thought of making a game with JavaScript? Not really. I mean, I don't know, man. I like to go where the money is, and it's not in building games. A lot of times, that's high stress, low money. Are you getting ready for the quality assurance bootcamp? I mean, I did all their prep work. I don't know that I'm prepping for it anymore. But I'm excited for it. I can tell you that much. Am I still with my girlfriend? Yeah. gonna stay that way too. So back up now. Yeah, man. What's a QA bootcamp? Quality assurance bootcamp. So for those of you who don't know, I think I've talked about this once or twice before. Is I've been sponsored by Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp for a while, and one thing I asked them is like, hey, I'd really love to go and do one of your boot camps. In exchange, I'll do a few videos. So I'm going to do 5 videos for them. And I'm going to do one of their quality assurance boot camps online just to get better, right? Just to continue to learn and get better at testing and everything in between. So that's what I'll be doing. That's one certification I'll be getting in 2019. And another is the Scrum Alliance Scrum certification for devs. So those are the 2 things that I'll be working towards in the early parts of this year. Do I use Bootstrap for every project at work? No, I do everything in native CSS. And besides MySQL for PHP, you probably want to pick up a Laravel, which is a popular PHP framework. I'm gonna stand for a little bit. Vue will surpass React. I don't know, man. I don't really think about it too much. Working with a framework, learning a framework, it's not that big of a deal. How much of being a good programmer is memory versus knowledge of resources? So here's the thing. If you try to memorize things, you will be awful. There is a certain amount of things that you're going to have to memorize without a doubt. But if you're like, I'm just going to remember everything, what it's like doing as a programmer is, let's think about math, right? If you didn't understand the concept that when you add 2 to things, it incremented it by 2. Instead, you just said, I know that 1 plus 2 is 3. I know that 2 plus 2 is 4. And that you just kept memorizing that when you had these 2 numbers and added them together, this was the result, instead of understanding the theory and the concept behind it. Then what will happen is that when you will very quickly find yourself overwhelmed because you don't understand the core aspects. And so what I would say is that there is a bit of memorization, but what separates a good developer from a bad developer, amongst many things, is being able to understand those core fundamentals. Can you become a senior developer by self-studying? Sure. How often do you use regex in my job? Whenever needed. Sometimes you have to parse domains out. Sometimes you have to sometimes you have to do other things like that's what I'm looking for. User input validation. I mean, it just depends. Use it when you need to. It's like asking, how often do you use the includes array method? I don't know, man. Whenever I need to, right? That's the thing. I use it when I need to. It's there for me to use. Doesn't mean I have to use it. It has its purpose like everything else. Yeah, the cat tower. Some of you guys were talking about the cat tower. The cat tower is temporary. It's normally in the living room, but it currently is we put a Christmas tree there. So currently gotta get rid of it. Can you get an AWS developer job that is not an Amazon employer? Yes. Self-taught programmer, want to write code like a professional. That's very funny because there is a awesome web series called Code Like a Pro, where you can learn how to write code like a professional. I think it's on this channel actually, and we do just that. So you might want to check it out. You should focus on, when it comes to technologies, whatever you want to work in, as well as wherever you're trying to be. Have I ever burnt out because of coding? Somewhat. So I have a very high tolerance for coding. I could probably code about 80 hours a week before I start burning out. And I can do that for a couple weeks. So like, if people ask me to work overtime, it's not that big of a deal because look, man, I have, since I've started coding, it's just the way I've been going at it. The things that burn me out are deadlines and people not being professional. Those are the things that burn me out and make it hard for me. So yeah. Unrealistic expectations. That's what burns me out more than anything else. Burnout happens, man. Does April still have an interest in coding? Yeah, right now she is working on getting her teacher credential. And once that gets done, that'll probably happen by the end of January. She'll get hired as a teacher at the place that she's subbing at. She'll then go and we're going to figure out if she's going to go get a master's in something software related. Do I ever hate sitting down so much? Yeah, man. That's why I have a stand-up desk here and a stand-up desk at work. Do I have any recommendations on how to stand out in a job application? Yeah. I just kind of talked about it on how I structured my resume. But you want to be unique, man. That's the truth of the matter. And you want to have a beautiful LinkedIn and a beautiful resume and everything else. What do I think about making something in web dev to give you passive income? Of course. Well, finishing a bachelor's in an unrelated field bump chances of employment? Yes. Because you will have a check mark for having a bachelor's. Sometimes that's all it takes. I mentor people in person. I mentor people online. I mentor people through YouTube. I get paid to build courses. I build courses of my own. I've mentored quite literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And I still get turned down on occasion because I don't have a bachelor's. So I have probably, and mind you, I'm relatively small, but compared to the average developer, my footprint of software is larger than most. But that bachelor's, if I had a bachelor's in art history, it would do me good. Like, you get what I'm saying? Does it really matter at this point in my career? No, there's plenty of companies that'll interview me and hire me, and I have a great job, and I love it for the most part. But will having one versus not having one be a good thing for you? Yes, it's always going to be a positive. There's no one that's ever looked at your thing, and if you didn't have a bachelor's versus you had a bachelor's, was like, I really wish this guy didn't have a bachelor's. Like it's just not how it works. I honestly don't use Flexbox all that often. I use CSS Grid all the time, and I love it. And I don't really have to use any references, not too often, anyhow. What do I define as not being professional? I mean, that's a very large thing. I can define what is defined as being professional, and I have a series about that, and I haven't done any videos for it in quite a bit, but I would define being a professional as being honest, protecting the code, and progressing your career at work and outside of work to get a better skill set. That's what I would define as being a professional. What made you choose web developer over mobile development? It just sort of fell into how I do things. Like it just worked out that way. I also wouldn't do mobile development from a very practical standpoint. In fact, there's more jobs in the web. Was I able to build a React app without Googling on my very first thing? What city in Florida are you in? I'm in the Tampa area. Question. I just got my first job as a developer. It's a contracted employee. Is it normal for your job to give you stories and are expected to do without any training? I would say it's normal. I wouldn't exactly say that it is the best path. I think it's common. But you know, you're don't be afraid to reach out and ramp up. The worst thing you can do is be quiet, continually delay progress, and then you get fired because of it. So it's better to reach out and get help to get ramped up and get going as quick as possible. My images, I just hosted them on GoDaddy. Is a web developer a software engineer? It sort of depends. Typically, a software engineer is a much more fancy web developer. But yeah, more or less. Any advice to get better in JavaScript? Start doing algorithms. What resources to learn C# and .NET? For me, I'm just going to build shit. I got a web application I want to build by 2019. I need to build the backend for it, so I'm just going to build it. One of the great things also about being a developer, you work with developers, so you have access to people who are professionals and continue to do that can help you out along the way, to a degree, right? Yeah. Yeah, hungry, man. You know, some French onion soup. Picked that up at Costco the other day. For God, it's already 3. Where has the time gone, man? All right, guys. I think we've spent a lot of time answering some questions. And it is always a pleasure of mine. I'm getting a little tired. I need to go have some food, maybe a little cafe. We just got a Keurig. April loves it. I don't even know how it works. I've never, I haven't used it yet. The hook on the resume needs work. Yeah, I know. I don't know what to do quite yet, if that's what you're talking about. Anyhow, so as always, don't forget to like the video, comment, share. Look forward to Monday's video where we'll be talking about the Liskov substitution principle, continuing our trend of breaking down the solid principles. And of course, if you're interested in any of my courses, I highly would recommend the JavaScript course, as well as the 100 algorithm challenge course, so that you can ramp up, pass those algorithms, and just continue to get better, continue to to solve those problems, those whiteboard problems, and get those good high-paying jobs. There's links to that in the description, as well as the books and items that I recommend that'll help you out. I'm gonna go take a little bit of me time, and then I gotta come back here and actually make that video and another video. So with that being said, guys, it has been a pleasure. I appreciate you all. And we started this live stream with a little bit of talking about my own personal burnout in my personal life that is burning me out. And so, you know, I think how I'm going to handle it, and this is the thing, is keep trying things till it works, right? Keep trying things until something helps. And the worst thing that you can do when you're crashing and burning is just accept that you're going to continue to crash and burn. So keep trying to solve the problem and don't assume that the problem will go away. So that's how I'm going to do it. And that's what I'm going to do. I appreciate you all. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.